We're already live. We're already live. We're already live. We're already live. I thought it was something else before. Even I just love you. All these things are fine. You know. All these things are fine. Portion. You drunk? Where is my thing? Can't find my listener. My I can't find my listener.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. I can't hear you. You're muted.
Okay, let me try.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Now I hear you perfectly well. Excellent. Fantastic. So I believe you test run the PowerPoint and it's shareable.
Yes, but I can't find it now. I don't understand.
Okay, I saw it when you went into
Yes.
it.
Let me go off and come in again. Just give me like 2 minutes, please.
Okay, no worries. That's fine. Thank you.
Mm.
No.
Okay.
No. I think what we should concentrate on now is whether people can hear myself and her. If that's okay, we can forge ahead. Can you hear me, ma'am? Can you hear me, ma'am?
Okay. Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me? I can hear you perfectly well.
Hello?
I can hear you.
Hello?
I can hear you. Okay, I can't hear her. And she can't hear me. Okay. Yes. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Hello?
Can you hear me, ma'am?
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I can see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you. I can see your lips moving, but I can't hear you. Oh my goodness, that's all. I can't even see if I'm muted or unmuted. Oh. Am I muted? I can see your lips moving, but I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Wow. I must have touched something. I don't know. Let me see. How come I can't hear you? I don't know what can be done now. I don't know what can be done. Because I can see you. I can't hear you. But I think you can hear me.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So you're not hearing me through the microphone then. So
I can hear you now. I've taken off my earplugs, my earphones.
that's fine. It's okay if that's because a lot you can hear me now, ma.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. Could we not share the screen yet so that we can do the introduction, welcome people on board, and then
Okay. Okay, no problem.
Thank you, ma'am. That's it. They get to see your beautiful face.
You look good too. You look good.
They get to know you before we start diving into what you have for us. I'm just trying to make sure where exactly that we are live and people can see us and hear us at the moment. Um, yes, people are already coming on board, so I'm going to have to facilitate places where I can see them, they can see me. Um, I normally, let me go into, please just bear with us because there's so many gadgets and places we need to go into to monitor that everything is working the way it's supposed to be working. Um, okay, so I can't, this is not working for me, so let me just go to YouTube. Okay, we're live on Periscope, we're live on Facebook. I just want to confirm that we are live on YouTube. And yes, we are live on YouTube as well. I see us there. Excellent. The two of us are there. That's good because I actually don't have the control of anything today. I have to rely totally on my boss controlling everything from his side. Okay, so um, I take it that you can still hear me, ma'am.
I can hear you, yes.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so um, am I good to go?
It's up to you.
Okay, excellent.
Everything is working here.
Okay, that's fine. So let's get the
Is the
ball
light
rolling.
behind me too bright? I can turn it off.
No, 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 no. If
Okay.
you turn it off, we might not be able to see your face properly. We want to see you very. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So, okay, I hear that you're speaking and I'm not hearing you again.
Can you hear me?
Ah, yes, I do. I do hear you. Excellent. Fantastic. Okay. So, could you just give me the screen me alone? Is that possible? Why I
I don't know if that's
Oh
possible.
no, not you, ma'am. Not you. I'm talking to my
Okay.
boss.
Okay.
From where you're projecting, is that possible or not? Or it has to be the two of us like that? Sorry? If it's not possible, I'll just go on like this and we'll go. Okay, that's fine. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. God bless you, everybody, and welcome to Daily Prayer for Our Children. You are witnessing a lot of things that you don't normally see, and that obviously, as you can see, I have never used Zoom to stream before. So is uncharted territory for me. And obviously, we're still trying to navigate our way around it. So please just bear with us. Pastor Christine, God bless you, man. You can hear us both. God bless you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your constant support. The Lord honor you. So I'm going to have to be flipping through many uh, multiple channels to find out who is where and what. The normal facilities that I have, I don't have it today. So please, if you are there and I haven't seen you, please just bear with me. It's because I don't have everything in one go like I normally have. I have to go through multiple screens. So if you are meeting us for the very first time, on behalf of the Praying Child community, I'd like to welcome you to daily prayer for our children. My sister, Sister AB, long awaited. I've made noise, I've shouted, I've told all of you how excited I am to have her on board. I told you about the conversation that we had, how she made me feel so easy, so comfortable, so um, I am going to leave some of it for her to say because I wasn't really. I'm used to sometimes just meeting walls and negativity, and I didn't get any kind of that hostility at all. And it was such a breath of fresh air. And you know what really did it for me is that when she said, I found my sister, I said, wow, hallelujah, thank you, Jesus. So I finally have Sister AB in the house. I'm going to get her to introduce herself to us. I don't know how many of you actually know her. And I have to say, I'm still getting to know her. I don't know her yet. I know she's bubbly. I know she's lively. That's all I can tell you at the moment. And I know from my own personal research the things that I found out about her. But I'm going to leave the platform, the forum for her to inform us as much as you can, Ma, what you do, where you're coming from. I'm going to ask you some questions because this is the beginning of a long journey for me and you. So we're not going to accomplish everything today on this forum. So we're going to take it. We want to know you first. We want to know who you are, where you're coming from, and then we're going to dive into the journey that is ahead of us. Because you and I are going to be on this journey for quite a while. So I'm not really in a hurry. I want to take my time. So anybody that wants to hurry, they're going to have to keep coming back by the grace of God. So please introduce yourself to all the people that are watching. Let them know who you are and what you do. And obviously, if you want them to connect with you, I know you're not really a social media person, but if there's anything that you are actively doing that you want people to be a part of, or and it doesn't matter where it is, it doesn't matter whether it's in America, it's in Europe, or it's in Nigeria, wherever it is, because now the world is a global horizon. There's no boundary, there's no restriction. So over to you, Ma.
Thank you so much, Funke. Thank you. It was a really, really great pleasure meeting you and the way we connected, It's as if we've known ourselves for, yeah, there are certain people God just brings your way and you just connect, because you need for that connection to take place. So thank you so much for this huge opportunity and great privilege. My name, like you said, is AB. That's a short form. It's actually a long name, Ekimiebi. That's my name. I'm a Nigerian. I live in Lagos. I live in Lagos. I'm an early years practitioner and educational consultant and a parenting educator. So my passion is children. I've worked with children for so many years. In fact, if I want to begin, since I was a child, so to speak, I've always been with the children's ministry in church, before I actually went to study education. But I have an initial background in sociology, and then I went into education. So I'm a teacher trainer, certified teacher trainer. I didn't just go into teacher training. I'm a certified teacher trainer and certified parenting educator. And I also have a group where we pray for children once a week. We meet, on WhatsApp. We pray for children. So I've always been in this children thing. Apart from that, I'm a worshiper.
Oh, really? You
Yeah.
see, I told you there's so much I'm yet to know.
Yes. So, well, in a nutshell, that is it. I'm a mother and married and have children. By God's
Okay.
grace, yes.
So that's interesting because I also have my background as well with children in the church as well. Uh, Before getting onto this platform and this forum. But like I said, obviously there is so much for the two of us to catch up on as we go along this journey. One of the things that I noticed when I first went looking for you was I kept seeing Montessori, and that you have this American Montessori background. And personally, I have to be honest with you, and I hands up to everybody on the platform. I told them already, I said, look, all my life I've heard Montessori, 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 Montessori. Tell me, what is Montessori? No clue. I've got no clue whatsoever what Montessori is. And I'm sure there's probably a lot more people like myself out there as well who has no clue what Montessori education is all about. So please help take me out of my misery and help me to understand what is so unique, what's so special, what does Montessori do that everybody is so hype about it?
First of all, there's a lot of misconceptions about Montessori. Generally, people feel that Montessori is for special children, but that's not true. Even though she started out with working, Montessori is the name of a woman, an Italian medical doctor, Dr. Maria Montessori.
Ah,
Yeah, she's a medical
just
doctor
like
and a
Mercedes
scientist.
Benz.
Yes, so it's her own method of education. She started out working with children who were regarded as uneducable.
Oh,
But based on her scientific background, she was able to place them on common entrance exams, and they did very well. These children were children that were age-wise, they were older children because they didn't have any educational background. You understand? They had, yes. So they were labeled as uneducable, but she groomed them up and they passed the exam. So that was how she became very popular. And then she now went specifically into educational research, started building materials, working with children, and it's actually a hands-on method of education. Is a methodology, and it has been practiced for over 100 years. There are Montessori schools and training centers all over the world. And actually, my daughter had a Montessori background, and the learning, it's so easy, makes things very easy for children because the materials are specifically designed to be child friendly. So rather than, for example, if I'm teaching a child numbers, a 2-3-year-old child, like we do in traditional schools, I don't make the child to memorize the numbers, but the child actually experience the numbers.
Wow.
Yeah. So if I say, give me 5, if the child is able to, for example, in traditional schools, a 3-year-old child, 2-year-old child will be able to reel out 1 to 50 by word. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 20, up to 50, and we clap our hands. But in Montessori, that is not considered to be learning. It's until the child can actually give you 10 objects and say, this is 10. Not just reel out, read 10, just by memorization, by rote. No, with Montessori, you must show that learning has taken place, that you understand the concept. Even in language, the same thing. We don't teach them ABC. We teach them the sounds of the letters, and then the children are able to make words based on those sounds. So it makes learning very fun and hands-on.
Wow.
Yes.
Honestly, I'm sure as you are educating me, you're educating a lot of people because number one, I never knew was the name of, I didn't even know it was a woman.
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm sexist, but in my head, I never associated Montessori with a woman. And I didn't know it was her name. I wonder how many people also know it's in the name of the woman that came up
Yes,
with
it's the
the
name
method.
of a medical doctor.
Exactly, you see. But I just know that it, many years ago in Nigeria, it was like the in thing, Montessori school, Montessori education, Montessori that, Montessori that. And it even looked to me as if it was the affluent people that could afford Montessori kind of education sort of thing. So I hope you understand what I'm saying. So you are kind of
Yes,
getting this
that's
vibe.
the truth. That's the truth. Because the
Aha.
materials are very expensive. They're not cheap.
Okay. So you see, but we didn't get this vibe that actually Montessori is actually a particular kind of education and the way the methodology by
Yes.
which the children are taught, that's what's really so unique and so different. So will I be wrong in thinking that it's almost like when I'm jumping in at the deep end here. Is it like when the children are doing what we call kumo? Because kumo is also in another way, an educational system as well. Do you know
Yeah.
kumo?
I've heard about Kumon.
Okay, because that's another method here. I remember I enrolled my daughter, wow, long time ago. Um, and that one again is repetition of doing the same thing again and again and again and again and again until they've mastered that thing. And that's what because sometimes when you drop them off, all they do is they give them a workout book and they just do the same thing again and again, English and maths until they've mastered that thing, then they move on to the next thing. And it's supposed to help them to build the foundation, like building block to learning and studying other things and perfecting those things. So uh, is it sounding anything
Yeah,
like
yes. Kumon actually has part of the Montessori philosophy. Yes,
ah,
in Montessori philosophy, we believe in repetition. You understand?
okay,
Because children actually, you see, the whole methodology, there's a philosophy. You must understand the philosophy in order to apply it into with the methodology. You
okay,
cannot have the philosophy and not have the methods.
okay,
Like in Nigeria, you are saying that a lot of schools, yes, they claim to be Montessori because they know the philosophy, but they don't have the method. They don't have the materials. You must have the materials to practice it.
okay,
It's hands-on. Like Kumon believes in repetition. Montessori says, look, children learn by repetition until they have mastery of the skill.
yes,
So sometimes it may seem a bit slow, but the beautiful thing is that once the child has it, the child has it.
mm,
And you can apply that same knowledge into other things.
mm,
You see,
mm,
for example, in Montessori, like the EYFS, where you have knowledge and understanding of the world. In Montessori, we call it cultural studies, where
okay,
a child in Nigeria, we know so much about Asia without going there. Because
okay,
you bring in Asia into the classroom
okay,
with pictures, stories, videos. The child in Nigeria knows so much about Asia, so much about America. You know, and all over the world, the materials are the same. When you go into a Montessori class, if you are trained, you know that this is Montessori. The
mm,
materials are the same, no difference.
mm,
You know, so it's actually a very in-depth method that is designed to meet the child's developmental level at all times. Montessori, you have from 0 to 12 to 18 years, up to secondary schools.
mm.
Yes,
Wow.
and they have materials for each level.
Wow,
Yes.
wow, wow. I mean, like I said, you can actually see that. I mean, like I said, personally, me, I didn't really understand it. And I
Yeah.
know on the platform right now, I've got some educators like yourself that are also listening who are part of the forum. So thank you. That's a wealth of knowledge I've just received there.
Well,
And I'm so grateful because knowledge is power. Knowledge is resourceful. So you say you educate parents as well. So how does that come into it? So you educate teachers, you educate parents. Wow, there's many factors to you.
I'm a certified teacher trainer. So I train Montessori early childhood educators as teachers who want to become Montessori adults who want to become Montessori teachers. They go through a training. And so I train them to become
Mm,
certified Montessori teachers at the early years level. There are different levels.
okay.
Yes, there
So
are different.
which
You
means
have for early years, you have for elementary, and then you have for secondary.
mm,
Oh, yes, my own focus is the early years.
early years. Okay.
Early years. So, of course, with that, you apply to other educational methods as well. Any person who wants to set up a nursery school, for example, because the Montessori method is actually very versatile. For
Okay.
example, if you cannot afford the materials, we do what we call handmade materials. You can actually, during the training, you can actually learn how to make your own resources. If you can't
Okay.
afford to buy, yes.
Okay.
Yes, because the materials are quite expensive.
Expensive.
So, yes, so that is what I do. For parents, you see, because parents are partners in the school system.
Mm.
So parents need to be educated. Like, because Montessori is a special method, parents need to understand what we do with the children and how they can help,
The
how they
parents
can
and their
extend
children to
learning at
develop.
home. Because if they, for example, we don't give homework.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, we don't give homework. And some parents will say, why don't you give homework? The children do everything they need to learn. They've learned it at school. Why burden them with extra work? A child needs to rest. The brain needs to rest. So there has to be this understanding. We don't do television. We don't do videos to our early years learners. We don't, because they don't need it. It impacts on the brain. So you see, so we constantly interface with the teachers. Now I'm with the parents for them to understand. For example, some of the things if we have the time, I will discuss. There are certain concepts in Montessori. So parents need to understand what is happening to this child at this age. How can I help beyond school? Because you see, it's not about school. It's not about academics only. We're grooming a human being, a person, an individual. So there are different aspects to us as humanity, as man, you understand? It's not just intellect. We're social beings, we're emotional beings, we're physical beings, we're spiritual beings. So you see, so in parenting education, we talk about all these.
So this is wow, this is really good because I never well, what did I know about Montessori? The fact that you don't even give homework and you said the brain needs to rest, but you've said something. I don't know whether you can see my pen. I'm looking for
Yes,
my
I can
paper
see.
quickly so that I can write down. Because you said something, you said you don't use television, you don't use so because they're young and they don't need it. So, which again, can I quickly, before we go any further, I'm sure you're probably going to enlighten us more about this, because again, we're talking about the early stages. Am I correct, Ma?
Yes,
We're
yes,
talking about the early stages.
yes.
So, in the Montessori system, there is no homework and it's based on repetition. And you don't quickly introduce this television, internet, and all these things to them.
Yes, at
Now,
that age, at that
at
age, yes.
that age, exactly. So what age are we talking about exactly, Ma?
Between 0 to 6, 7.
Wow. Okay, so this is my question, and this is exactly what I'm asking. So now with this phenomenon that we have across the globe, with everybody putting a gadget and a device in the hand of their early 0 to 6, 0 to 7. So what are we doing? Tell us, Ma, what exactly are we doing with our children?
I think, because of ignorance, you understand. Knowledge is power. Actually, it is when you know that you apply that knowledge. Now, exposing children early to this technology is not very good for them. I mean, the producers of this technology, some of them know it. Some of their children, I mean, if you do your research, some of the children are not exposed to these things.
Yeah, you're
It's
right.
commercial. They want to sell. And you see, you can imagine, if you observe children, they become really obsessed with it,
Yes, addicted.
addicted to it. It is addicted because you see, at that early age, there's a lot of rapid brain development. And so whatever the child takes in is not just getting into the child, is forming who the child becomes. And so when we expose children too early to these things, we're not helping them. They become dependent. I see children crying, grabbing their parents' phones. It destabilizes their thinking sometimes. Sometimes they can't focus, they can't concentrate. It's a major distraction. And I would like for us to as parents and as teachers, to also do our research about how these things affect the young child's brain. We'll get a lot of information.
In fact,
And you see, they can do without it.
of course they can do
They can do
without it.
without it. The problem now is that because of what is going on in our culture, I mean, in the world culture, it looks like parents now don't know how to engage their children.
That's right.
So we have been cultured by the media to believe that we need to keep them in front of television to keep them busy. But at this early age, children need contact. They need to make connections with other human beings, not with an inanimate object.
You see? I'm so glad that, yeah, I mean, we're talking about this because it's interesting. Because a few weeks ago, I think I mentioned to you, I had Dr. Ruth on the platform, and she said the same thing.
Yeah.
And her husband, Pastor Godwin, they said the same thing. Pastor Godwin also said it, that you wouldn't find this thing in their home. And for years that I've been doing this, I've been shouting out to parents as well. You're buying tablets for this. In fact, many years ago, I remember about 4 or 5 years ago, one mom called me from America, a 6-year-old. He will not do anything in the house. He was already having trouble in school, in fact, to the point of expulsion in America. And this is a woman that is, by this time, she's already a grandmother. And so she's already raised grown-up children who are already having children, but she has this 6-year-old man or boy. And he's giving her all these challenges. But the other ones were raised in Nigeria. But this young man was born in America and raised in America. So she's like, I'm having these challenges. He doesn't do anything. He's always on his tablet. When I heard tablet, I said, what is a 6-year-old child doing with a tablet and games? And you're saying he's having trouble in school, he's not concentrating, he doesn't do what you have to blackmail him with the device or the game or the toy or something. And I asked her, I said, were you not the same one that raised these ones? Did they have tablets? Did they have this? Did they have that? At 6-year-old, didn't we have some chores that we were doing in the house already that we were able to, contribute our little quota as it is? But now, is it because now we're in America, it's a different ball game? I say, go and start by taking that device away. So as an educator, especially as an early child educator now, coming on board and again, confirming what I've always said and what other people have said, this is detrimental to the development of their brains as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Because I don't know whether you notice, Ma, but many of them can't type proper sentences. They can't construct because of this quick message, understand slang, all those, and emojis and everything coming. And you try to have a constructive conversation and you can't get one. How do we get this across to parents that are listening? Like you said, they need to go and do their research. I hope they will do their research because I still have parents under the sound of my voice now that they have given their children, their 5-year-olds, their 6-year-old, their 7-year-old, and God only knows since when they've given them tablets and device and all that kind of thing. And you said parents do not know how to engage their children. What have they lost? Why can't they engage their children?
Because I think it's because parents are busy. Really, it's a mental thing. It's a mental thing, and it has to do also with the perspective, you understand, about your role. It can be challenging, especially if you're working. But I mean, for me, childcare is a primary function. These children did not bring themselves into the world.
That's right.
You understand? We asked for them. We made them happen. So I think we can help them by not listening to the voice of modern culture, that
Okay.
you must have this device for your child. People are just making money off us.
Thank you.
We need to stand and say, my child doesn't need this at this time. I don't care what you say. The children, because it makes them to lose concentration. Generally, there may be a few children who are not, but generally makes them lose concentration. And you see, from the little I know about brain development, from what I know about brain development, for every experience, every activity, there's connections going on in the brain.
That's right.
And that is why they throw a lot of tantrums. When you take it from them, once they are used to it, they become addicted to it. So you now have to go through a process of unlearning that.
That's right.
It's like somebody who is on a drug and then suffering from withdrawal syndrome.
Wow.
Children go through that, yes. When they become addicted. Do you know why? Because the brain cells have been hardwired to play with those devices. It's not a good thing. It's not. And we can do without them. We can put our feet down and say, look, my child doesn't need it. And when you explain to the child will understand, no matter how, you see, we all fall under peer pressure. It's
That's
not only
right.
children that become victims of peer pressure, even adults as parents.
In the first place, ma, who bought those devices? Was it the
That's what I'm
3-year-old?
saying. That is what I'm saying. Parents under peer pressure.
Is that, are we not, we're going to another area, because I don't understand how the parent of a 5-year-old, the parent of a 3-year-old, and the parent of a 4-year-old is under pressure. Because these are my cry. Who is the adult in this relationship? Who is in charge? Which pressure are we talking about from a 6-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old to put a device? Because to me, Sister Abi, I think there's an element of laziness as well on parenting on our side. An easy option out, like
Yes,
for
an easy way
instance,
out.
yeah, an easy way out. So, and we've even infiltrated the church, the place of worship, with the same thing. That when we bring our children in their car seats, in their carrier, in whatever, what do we put in their handma? In my days, we had toys. We had toys that made noise, or little books, paper books, soft toy books, or all sorts of things to entertain children while they sat quietly in their carrier seat or whatever. But today, that's not what you see children. In fact, the companies, they think they've modernized it, like even like VTech that used to do toys for little children. They do what looks like mobile phone. They do what looks like toys, tablets. They give, and then they come into church. What do we do? So that they don't make noise, we give them our phone. We give them our tablet. We upload children's stuff onto it, because that's how they entice us. They said, oh, to entertain your children. But I've always asked this question: what entertainment does my children need in church? It's like saying I send a child to school and I said, take this mobile phone to entertain yourself while you are receiving education. Please, what entertainment does my child need when the teacher is teaching them? So I believe there's an element of laziness on our side, wanting to shift so that I can concentrate on something else.
Yeah.
And it's affecting our children. And probably from that kind of weekly meeting, prayer meeting that you say you do with children, you will probably have heard so much, all sorts of stories, all sorts of things coming out from, because we are not doing or delivering what we should be doing as parents to this generation of children that we are raising. And I'm hoping you're going to help us here as an educator, a child of God, a parent educator, and child advocate. I'm hoping you're going to help us bring some wealth of knowledge and resources on board here that hopefully we're going to be able to take away and start using, not just the hearer, because to hear is easy. Is the doing that we're struggling with. I think you agree with me. Is the doing. We can hear all the things that you're going to tell us now, but are we going to go and do it? I think that's the major part, because I think from your point of view as well and your experience, people will think, oh, if I pray and fast, if I pray, please, if you take away the device, is that not a problem already solved? But you're saying you're going to go and pray. Is praying as effective as taking away that device straight away from that child, ma?
Is to take away the device. The child will cry and cry. After a while, the child will get used to it.
Exactly.
I'd rather suggest you give the child a book.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned another one of my key area. Thank you. Please, over to you, ma. If you want to start on the PowerPoint, I'm quite okay. And I will bring in all my question. You know, like I said to you, let me not exhaust you today because this is a long journey. I have so many questions about, the development of our children. And we are doubly blessed because you are also a child of God as well. So you'll be bringing on board for us biblical, you understand what I'm saying,
Yeah.
biblical jara that will help us along the way. To everybody that is coming on board, God bless you. I can see all of you there. For all of you that are contributing, Sister AB can't see your comments. So when she's done, if we still have the time, I will read the comment. If you have questions, please feel free to send in your question. I'm not the only person that is allowed to ask questions, by the way. So all of you are free to ask questions as well. So please send your question. If I haven't answered your question, repeat it again so I can put it to. Okay, put Q. Okay. Okay, so before you. Okay, apparently, if you put Q before the letter Q before your question, it will highlight. So, oh, my boss says he will highlight them. Okay, that's fine. So he will be able to put it out for us to see. Excellent. Over to you, ma'am.
Again, thank you so much, Funke. And welcome again, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Funke gave me the liberty to speak on any topic I choose to.
I'm
And
generous.
thank you. And this evening, I'm looking at the nature of the child, seasons of life, the nature of the child, because it's children we're talking about, isn't it?
Yes,
Now, I
ma'am.
just want everybody to relax. There is no perfect parent. We all know parenting is a journey. None of us was taught how to be, we didn't go to school of parenting. You understand? We are all working with our children based on the knowledge we have, and we are at different levels.
Mm.
When I started out, I didn't have any knowledge. I started seeking for knowledge. You understand? So I made a lot of mistakes. I fell, I got up, I continued the journey. Praise the Lord. But I thank God that we're all Christians here. I presume, yeah.
Majority, give or take.
Majority, yes.
Yes.
So, but well, whether you're a Christian or not, we are all working in this journey. A parent, you are a partner. You're a partner, you're in partnership with God. That's the way I look at it. And it is a privilege, it is a great calling, whether you're a biological parent or you have adopted children or you have children around you. The job of parenting is not limited to biology, to biological relationship, is not. Any child around you that you have taken the place of a leader or a model or a caregiver, you are a parent. You are a parent, you know. So I just want to say thank you to everybody here for the great job you're doing with children. As I said earlier, as a parent, you are a co-creator with God and the child. You are a co-creator with God, because I know why I say that. I say that's the way I see it. I say that because when we are given children, for example, you have a biological parent or you adopted a child, you don't know this child. It's such a huge mystery, right?
Yep.
Before your child was born, you never knew that child.
That's right.
Yes. You never knew that child. You only get to meet the child on the day the child was born. Isn't that a huge mystery? It's like two strangers meeting. And then as you journey along, love comes in. And that's why somebody can give birth biologically, yet that child can be parented by another person. Not by the biological parent. And the bonding will be with what? With the social parent, with the person who did the job. So there are two things. Being a father or being a mother and being a parent are two different things. Some people are mothers, fathers, and parents. Some people just give birth while somebody else does the parenting. So childcare is a very important job, I believe, in the eyes of God. Because it is through this journey, through this channel, that we bring and groom other human beings that will take the baton from us when we are no more. So the job of parenting actually has ripple effects, I would say, into eternity. So it is a great privilege that we shouldn't take for granted. It is something we should look into very seriously. And these are things I started learning along the way. So in parenting, we learn on the job. But now I want to ask a question. Is there any job in the world, in the secular world, where people go into the job without prior training or without on-the-job training? None.
No.
And so I also look at parenting in that way. While on the job, we must look for what? Information. How do I get better? Just as you do with any business. And there was once I used to think that no child comes with a manual. I used to even say that no child comes with a manual. Yes, no child comes with a physical manual. But I have a question which I always ask myself. I said, if God has given you a job, if God gives us a job, won't he at least, as the employer, give us some job description?
Mm-hmm.
As important as raising another human being is, because he said, train up a child in the way he should go. What way? What is that way? When I was younger, I used to think that way meant going to church. And I mean, a lot of parents have that impression, true or false. It goes beyond that. It's not just the way of the Lord, church. No. Every human being is a multiplicity of parts. We're spiritual beings, yes. We're also social beings. We're emotional beings. We're intellectual beings. So what way are we talking about? If we just teach the children how to pray and teach them the Bible, the word of God, does that suffice for their life? No. So then if there is a way, then I think that is the crux of parenting. Finding that way and aligning the child to that course. Now, for me, that is a huge task because we need to inquire from the giver. Who is this child? What is this child about? And there are some examples in scriptures. Rebecca asked, who are these in my stomach? Who are these people? So I think one of the critical things is for us to make inquiry. Who is this child? How do I raise this child? What is best for this child? Not what I think, not my dream. You know, sometimes as parents, we want to live our lives through our children. That's not what I'm talking about. Because every child is an individual. We don't raise children to become clones of us, but we raise them to fulfill their own potential, their innate potential. So while it is important to seek knowledge about parenting and about our children, I suggest we also balance this out by looking at who we are as parents and who we are becoming in the journey, because who we are is what we bring to bear in the parent-child relationship. So from time to time, I suggest we check ourselves. Who am I becoming in the relationship with my child? What am I doing? How am I impacting on this child? While there are not so many, scriptural references that has to do with parent-child relationship, but you see this thing in the Bible from Genesis to the New Testament. There are a few references which are very, 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 very huge. So I'm going to share my screen now. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now. Like I said, that what I shared with us now is just a background to what I have for us. The topic is seasons of life, understanding the nature of the child, the early years. Can you see the screen? Can you see the screen? Oh my God. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the seasons of life, understanding the nature of the child, the early years.
Yes, 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 yes. Yes,
That's
ma'am.
the beginning. In fact, our personal histories began from conception, from the day we were conceived. But we're not going to talk about prenatal life, yes, but that is where life began. That is where life began. Remember, when something's mother was pregnant for him, no, even before then, the angel told her, he said, look, don't eat this, don't eat that, don't eat this, because you are going to have a child with this destiny. So the early years is very critical because that is the foundation. That's the beginning of life. There's no house that has been built without a foundation. And they say the stronger the foundation, the stronger the building, isn't it? So the early years is very critical. Unfortunately, that's the period we take children for granted. But a lot of things go on during that period. So Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heavens. I just want us to hold that thought. To everything there's a season. In human development, there are seasons or stages of development. But each stage is very critical, is important, because subsequent stages build on what the previous stages. So for each season, for each stage, we must try to do our best. We must put in the best of us. So I said that man is a spectrum of expressions from the prenatal stage through to infancy, to early childhood, to adolescent, adulthood, and old age. So the child is as human as the adult, only a younger and inexperienced version, an expression of the species. So it is important that we understand the seasons of life or the stages of development and how to apply ourselves in our relationship with children. Now, I would like for us to look at God's views about children. Every child is created in God's image. And so we must respect that. We owe the child our respect, that this child is not just my child. The child is a spirit with a soul and a body that has come to join us. So for me, I see parenting as an invitation to become a partner in impacting the world, the human race. So that child is not just your child. I see every child as a messenger that has come to us. And we need to help the child to deliver his message. I hope I'm not sounding too philosophical. Hello? So every child comes with a fragrance. Every child is a gift that has come to enrich us. So our perception and our conception of childhood is so critical because that will impact on our relationship with the child. It's like if you invite or an important person, somebody you perceive to be important comes to your house, there's a way you receive that person. Matthew 18:10 says, see that you do not despise one of these little ones. I tell you that their angels in heaven always see the face of my Father in heaven. That is huge. It's a warning on the way we perceive and receive children. If anyone causes one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it will be better for a large millstone hung around their neck and thrown in the sea. Think about these verses. It's like God telling us, this is how I value children. This is the value I've placed upon children. You know, our culture has taught us not to disrespect children, but God wants us to respect the child. He says, see that you do not despise one of these little ones. See is a warning. I tell you, their angels in heaven always see the face of my Father. Always. I don't know the conversations they're having with God concerning the child under your care, under my care. We must be mindful of that they have a spiritual connection to God. You know, there was a day I asked myself this question. I said, when God created man in the Garden of Eden, he created an adult, not a child. Right? But when he wanted to come to save humanity, he came as a child. And that hit me. He could have come as an adult. So children are very, very important. There's another scripture which I didn't add. I think it's in Ephesians. It says, parents, fathers, do not anger your children, or else they become discouraged. You know, as parents, we're quick to say, honor your father and your mother. This is the first. But the next verse says, parents, do not provoke your children to anger, or else they become discouraged. You see how God balances things up. God cares about the emotions of children, our emotional exchange with our children. God cares about it. It's important to him. So next, I'm going to look at some theories of human tendencies, just to let us know that the child is as human as the adult. And so we should not, let's try to change our views, our perception about children, and begin to treat them with the honor, the respect, and the dignity that they deserve. Now, I am not saying children should not respect us. We teach them how to respect, but we also respect them. There's a theory, there's a concept called human tendencies. What are the tendencies of humans? Both adults and children display these tendencies. Number one, you have what is called orientation. All humans are predisposed to know their relationship with the environment. When you get to a new environment, you want to get what? Familiar with the environment. That's orientation. And have you noticed that if you take a child to a particular environment, what do? They start running around. They want to get to know the place. It's a human tendency. When you first go to an institution, they always do what is called orientation. Get used to the environment so that you're comfortable. God also displayed this when he created Adam and Eve, man. He said, and God planted a garden in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. The environment, he put the man in the environment, and then he familiarized him with the environment. And then there was once he brought all the animals and he said, you named them. He took him round, showed them the things. He said, look, you can eat this, you can eat this, you can't eat that. These are some of the things children do, and we fight with them. Just sit down here. Why are you? It's orientation. It's natural. I'm just bringing these things out to let us understand why children, young children, behave the way they behave. It's a human tendency. The need for orientation is a human tendency. And that's why you see a lot of children run around. Another tendency is communication. Children ask a lot of questions. They are not asking those questions because they want to trouble us, but it's because they want to know. At that age, young children, they ask so many questions. Mommy, why is this? It's like they don't get tired. Why is this? Why? But why? But why do you want? But why? Some adults smack their children and say, why are you are trying to question my authority? No, the child wants to understand why. Why are you telling me to do this? Does not mean I'm trying to dishonor you. I just want to understand. This is a need for children because it's a human tendency. They want you to tell them why. They want to understand their world. But we misinterpret these things. So communication through verbal, through non-verbal modes, communication via the spoken words, they want to link with us. They want to bond with us. Another tendency is exploration and activity. When God created man, he put him in a garden to work the garden. So man is first and foremost a worker. So is the child. Every child wants to engage, wants to explore. It's a human tendency. It's not just your child. Every child exhibits that because it's a human tendency. There is no adult, there is no human being that just wants to sit down in one spot. You must engage your hands and your mind. It's a need. Another tendency is what? Movement. And movement is a vehicle for exploration. Movement is part of what we do as humans. So when children are restless and they move around, we think that, oh, this child just wants to disgrace me at this party. Why are you talking? Why are you moving your hand? We can control it, but understand that it is a human tendency. It's part of our humanity. It's part of who we are. We're not meant to be immobile. Okay? All right. Order is another human tendency. Both internal and external order. Children, when you go to an environment and everything is beautifully arranged, how do you feel? It gives you a sense of serenity, isn't it? It gives you a sense of serenity. And so in the lives of children, we need to give them that order. And that is the adult's work, to organize your space. External order also gives what? Internal order. So children need that. It's part of our tendencies. When you go to a disorganized environment, what happens to your mind? Restlessness. Yes. Because one of our tendencies is order. As human beings, we're created in order. Everything is organized. If you look at the human structure, everything is organized. The eye is where it's meant to be. The nose is where it's meant to be. So as parents, we should endeavor to give them this order. Work and manipulation. Man was made to be a worker, to manipulate things, to change things, to recreate. We're co-creators. When God created the world, God made trees, but he didn't make chairs. But he gave man the wisdom to cut down trees and make chairs, to cut down trees and build houses. There is no house in the universe that God created. Hello? But God gave us the raw materials and the intelligence to recreate. So when you see that your child trying to manipulate things, wanting to understand, know that it is a human tendency. Abstraction and the use of imagination. You see this in children. A child will take a bead and some beads and starts acting like that bead is a car. He's using his imagination. It's part of human tendencies. I'm just trying to lay this background so that we understand when children do certain things, that it is what? Part of the human tendency. Exactness and perfection. Every child wants to repeat an action so that they can what? Gain perfection. And so when you see that child repeating something over and over again, you have done this before, leave it. No, the child wants to perfect his movements, perfect the skill. And that is why they do that. So I want to ask one question. Who is a child to you? Who is a child? Who is your child? Just pause for a moment. If you have 3 children, if you have 4 children, just think, who is this child? Maybe John, maybe Temi. Who is Temi? Okay. All right, let's take a deep breath. Exhale now. Exhale. All right, so we're looking at human development. Human development is a stage process. This evening, like I said earlier, we're looking at what? The early years, from birth to age 6, 7-ish. Yeah. We're looking at the human being at that age. What are the general characteristics of the human being at this age? And how can we as parents engage the child better based on knowledge? We all have the responsibility of seeking out knowledge. Times have changed. Some people say, our parents, but they brought us up, they didn't read book. Things have changed. Parents are more busy now. In those days, when I was growing up, mommy was closer home. And our parents went to work, they came back at 3:34. True or false? There was always one auntie or somebody in the house. Now it's not, things have changed. Parents work, come back at night. The terrain has changed.
True.
And children are more exposed. This is the information age. If you are not there, somebody else is there. The internet. Like in Nigeria, where we have nannies, there are many crazy nannies. There are good ones, but there are many crazy nannies who abuse children. You know, so people are exposed to so much toxins out there, and we want to try as much as possible to help our children. And that's why we need knowledge. The Bible says a wise man seeks knowledge. A wise man seeks knowledge. So we have established the fact that parenting is an assignment. It's an assignment. Every child is a gift from God. The Bible says that the gift, the child is the reward. You know, there was once I was asking myself, I said, what reward? Reward for what? And I just added, is an expression of God's love. So the child, I said earlier that that's my own definition, is a spirit or a soul enclosed in the flesh in order to come to the world. So you're not just dealing with flesh, you're dealing with a soul. You're dealing with a spirit. Because man is a tripartite being. We all know that. So that your son, that your daughter is not just flesh and blood. There's something more. The child is something more than flesh and blood. And we need to respect that fact, that he's the image, that child is in the image of God. That child is the image of God, made in the likeness of God, a messenger from God. to make us better people. I believe in what I'm saying very, very strictly, because as a parent, I've learned so much from my children. There was once I was upset with someone and I was just complaining. And my daughter said, "Mommy, why are you complaining? If you look into her eyes, you know that she's not a happy person. And that's why she behaves that way." And that corrected me. And this child was just about 8 years old when she told me that. I was shocked. Our children teach us a lot of things. But are we hearing? Are we listening? Somebody who is impatient, God can give you a child that will teach you patience. Try your patience to make you a better person. But most times we see the problem. For example, God gives you a child that asks a lot of questions. Look at it this other way, that this child is not a bother, but this child wants me to be more knowledgeable. And to start seeking those information and give to the child, you find out that you become a better person. Indeed, children are gifts to us, but we must see the gifts that they are in order to embrace it. It's all about perspectives. And so from time to time, like I said earlier, who are we becoming in the parent-child relationship? We should sit back and think, what is my relationship with this child? What am I making out of this relationship? Even as we think about our spouses in order to better our relationship, so also with children. I think we should do that from time to time. Don't you think so? Doesn't your child deserve that? Sometimes we have businesses. We take time to think about how to better improve our businesses. But raising a child is also a major business. What is your plan for your child? We attend a lot of seminars to better improve our businesses. But do we seek knowledge? Can we pay for knowledge to better our relationship with the child? To help us to improve in our parent-child relationship? It's a ministry, it's a call. And you know that, you and I know that we don't have these children forever. There is a season for everything. There is a season, and that season will pass. And you can't go back to that season. Where you may be able to mend some ways, but a lot of things would have gone wrong. We can actually enjoy the relationship, but we must be intentional about it. We must be intentional about it. It takes a lot of investment of time. I know that. It's challenging because we must work. We have to put food on the table. We have to pay school fees, right? But then the school fees we're paying must be well invested, isn't it? The child is an investment. So we can't pay all those school fees and lose the child at the end of the day. God will help us. So I've touched on all this. What are the expectations? To embrace, to inquire, and to act. When we embrace the gift, we make inquiry about the gift. And then we take action. There are some verses here, we can just read them up. The gift of God makes rich and adds no sorrow. Children are a gift from God. Rebecca inquired of the Lord who the children in our womb are. That's Genesis 25:22. Train up a child in the way he should go. What way? What is the way? That is the crux of parenting. That was what I said at the introduction. What is the way for this child? How can I help to aid the development, the proper development of this child? Because it is in our hands, it's our responsibility. Proverbs 22:6, Deuteronomy talks about us as parents talking, communicating with our children is very important. Our voices must be heard in the lives of our children. We shouldn't leave that to the religious organizations or to the school. We shouldn't leave that to somebody else. It is our responsibility. It's not the responsibility of the Sunday school teacher to teach your child about God. It is not. The Sunday school teacher is only a secondary help.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And then
That's right.
God tells us to manage our emotions. Do not provoke your children to wrath. That means there are certain things we do that provokes the children, and we believe they have no right to talk. Because of course, it's a power relationship skewed to the disadvantage of the child. That's Ephesians 6:4 and Colossians 3:21. So the critical early years, I have something interesting here. I said a housefly has about 100,000 brain cells. A monkey has 10,000 brain cells. How many brain cells does an infant have? Please don't go to Google. Just guess. I give you 1 minute. Just guess how many brain cells an infant, a newborn child will have. You can imagine. Google research says a newborn infant has about 100 billion brain cells. That is the massive, that is how humongous, I don't know the right word to use, the potential of every child that comes to us. And each of these brain cells are able to make thousands, hundreds of thousands of connections amongst themselves. But it is based on experience. You know how habits are formed. Habits are formed from what? From actions and activities. When people say habits die hard, it has to do with the brain connections, the connections of the cells, the brain cells. And so once that activity has been done over and over and over again, the connection becomes so serious that it becomes difficult to break. It all has to do with the brain cells. And so when we have this child born with so much brain cells, scientists say that every child has the capacity to succeed. So the success or failure, in quotes, of the child depends on what? The environment that we create for the child. And this has to do with stimulation and activities that the child is exposed to at that early years. Because this is the period for what? Rapid brain development and connections to in the different areas of the brain. For example, language. Have you observed that if a child does not have language at 7 years, it becomes difficult? Even when there's nothing neurological wrong with the child, if the child cannot speak, a perfect child who doesn't have any neurological problem, but is not exposed to language early enough, that child will not learn language, even though he can speak. Am I making sense? Because he has not been exposed to the activity. The brain has not received language, and so the child cannot speak language. But at that age, expose a child to 3-4 languages, the child can acquire these languages. Not by direct teaching, but by absorbing it from the environment. That's how powerful the early years is. So Richard says that by age 5, about 50% of the main learning pathways in the brain have already been formed. And so you want your child to learn music, that's the right age. for him to acquire the foundation. Whatever skill you want the child to acquire, the early years is the right age. At this time, they acquire things almost effortlessly. Now, I'm not trying to say that when they are older, they cannot acquire, they can, but it's easier when they are younger. And you know, the early years covers from 0 to about 8 years now. So the early years is marked by an amazing brain development, rapid brain development. And then it is the stage when the construction of the foundation of the personality of the individual is being laid. So for example, if a parent is always rude to people, that child will learn those things, rudeness. If you want a respectful child, this is the time. You teach, you model respect. So the early years is very critical. And during the early years, the mind of the child is different, is qualitatively different from that of the adult. By the mind of the child, I am talking about the way children take in information is different from the way adults take in information. 1 Corinthians 13:11 says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood and reasoned as a child. I thought as a child. So the way a child thinks, the way a child memory works, the way a child absorbs in information is different. The mind of the child is different from the mind of the adult. The way the child learns is different from the way an adult learns. So you see, sometimes our expectations of children are so high because we expect them to do things the way we're doing it. They're different. So, but when we understand this, when we have an understanding of child development, it helps us to relate with the child at his or her own level. That way, that reduces frustration for both the child and the adult or the parent in this case. So adults and children have two different modes of assimilation, of assimilating information, of processing information. While the adult takes in information consciously and can select good information from the bad, a child's mind absorbs what? Every information, good, bad, and ugly. And this special mind of the child is what is called the absorbent mind. That is a Montessori concept, but that is actually what happens. The absorbent mind. From 0 to 3, the child absorbs everything unconsciously, the good, the ugly, the bad. Just like a sponge. If you take a sponge and put it in water, if the water is dirty, the sponge takes in what? The dirt in the water. A clean water, the same thing. That is how the child absorbs information. Information, the elements within the environment. At age 3, you see how children dance. If they're exposed to all these wriggly dances, they'll dance that way, right? Children that are exposed to religious songs, you see them doing religious dance moves. Children that are exposed to sexualized songs, they move that same way. They don't know any difference. And then someone says, this child is spoiled. No, it's the environment. It's what the environment has presented to the child. So in our homes, what is the environment we are creating for our children? We must be mindful of that. Because most times we assume that, he's a baby, he's a toddler, he doesn't know what is happening. The child is taking in everything. It's taking in everything. It's taking in everything through his senses, what he sees, what he hears. For example, you said the child doesn't know. How come at age 2, a child will start telling you things, speaking, expressing himself? Did you teach that child language? No. So the environments we provide, we create for the children is very critical at this age. We shouldn't take it for granted and assume they don't know what is happening. Let me skip that. So the power of the absorbent mind. And you see, God, in his infinite wisdom, had to do this for humanity because that is the only way a child can assimilate the culture of the environment. That is the only way the child can become a full member, a functional member of his community through indirect absorption. Because if the child were to learn these things like an adult would, it would take a longer time and it would take too much effort. During the early years too, the child is constructing the individual that he will become. Character is being formed at that time. The character of the child. He takes on the character of the people within his environment. And as I say, this child behaves exactly like his father. It's true absorption. He sees the way his father behaves. He sees the way his father walks, and he begins to walk that way. Am I making sense? Okay. I hope you're enjoying this class. So what are the characteristics of the absorbent mind? Through the absorbent mind, the child assimilates tremendous amounts of information, behavioral traits, environmental impressions, habits, values, mores, beliefs, the religion of the people around him, the way they talk, the way they speak. And that's why if you have a set of identical twins, separate them. Each person will acquire the language of the environment, even though they are biologically identical. That's the power of the environment. And from 0 to 3, I'd said that they absorb these things unconsciously, effortlessly. And you see, the beautiful thing about the absorbent mind is also that they can learn things easily. So you want to teach your child how to show respect, that is the time. How to sweep the floor, this is the time. Don't wait until the child is 8 years old. Start giving them those chores. Little things. Instead of putting the child in front of television all the time, give him chores. Show the child how to wash plates, how to carry his plates, how to clean up. The child may not do it perfectly, but he's practicing the movements. He's practicing the skill. For children, it's not about perfection through our adult eyes, but at the child's level, he's learning to perfect those skills through activity. Those kind of chores and activities are far better than giving the child a tab, because those are life skills. And then there's a relationship between the work of the hand and the way the brain functions. It helps the brain. When a child is working using his hands, it stimulates the brain positively. Not just sitting down, glued to a screen. So activities are very critical during the early years. I'd said that the absorbent mind is global. That means it takes in all the information, just like a camera. If you take a shot of the environment of whatever thing, the camera just takes exactly what is there. It does not discriminate. So also the absorbent mind doesn't discriminate information. It just takes in everything. That's from 0 to 3. From 3 years to age 6, the child moves from unconscious constructor or unconscious worker to what? A conscious mind, where he's trying to, now at this time, he's beginning to understand, okay, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad. Because at that time, he must have heard a lot of language. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. And I want to also chip in here that At a very young age, 0 to 3, 2.5, 3, a child does not have the capacity to obey always. During these early years, they don't have the capacity to obey always. Sometimes they obey, sometimes they do not. And I've heard another to say, oh, she knows what she's doing, and this is just a toddler. Look at the way she just turned and looked at me and smiled and walked away. She's a rude child. No. There's a lot going on in the brain. There's a lot of information the child is taking in. The child is trying to construct himself. It's like the issue we have with teenagers. Anyway, let me not skip. The same thing goes on in a teenage brain. The same activity goes on in the teenage brain. And that's why we have a lot of issues with teenagers. I say they are rude. No, there's a lot going on in their brains, in their minds. So, but when we understand that these things are happening, we begin to appreciate them more and help them, assist them. So coming back to the earliest, there's a lot going on. And so the child does not have the capacity to obey always at this early age, between 0 and, let's say, 3.5. So when a child disobeys, it doesn't mean that the child is deliberately doing it. Sometimes they forget. If you work with young children, you will understand. Ask them, what did I just tell you? They lose out on the information. They will tell you half of what the instruction you told them. So you keep reminding them and keep correcting them. Not by shouting, but by understanding the being, the people, the nature, their nature. And it's common, it's general, it's global. So it's not just your child. So the environment, we must create the right environment. The environment, and we as adults, as parents, we are the living part of the environment because we set the tone. Environment is very important. Environment changes people. Environment transforms people, and environment can also deform. Environment can actually make or mar a child. So we have this physical environment, your home, the school, any social setting is a physical environment. We have the psychosocial environment. Our relationship with the child and how it impacts on the mind of the child, how it impacts on the emotions. Is there love in the environment? Is there consideration in the environment? Is there respect for the child in the environment? Does the child feel connected with the people around? Does the child feel at home in himself? Does the environment enable the child to develop his self-esteem, his identity, his sense of self-worth and value? The signals within the environment, what are the signals telling the child about who he is? Then you have the intellectual environment. Is it stimulating intellectually? And then you have the spiritual environment. So this covers all areas of our human experience. We are physical beings, we're psychosocial beings, we're emotional beings, we're intellectual beings, we're spiritual beings. So it's a good idea to put all this into consideration in our relationship with children. How is this environment impacting on my child? What am I passing across? What am I telling the child? What is my life speaking to the child? Another concept I would like us to look at in the early years is sensitive periods. Now, sensitive periods are basically windows of opportunity when children show an interest, an intense interest in an aspect of the environment, or They just show an intense interest in acquiring a particular skill within the environment. And this happens with the absorbent mind, with the developing brain at the same time. Sensitive period is another Montessori concept. So it is said that children have what? A sense for order, a need for order. By order here, we mean, this is one of the sensitive periods. By order here, we mean an organized environment, consistency in doing things. The children show it. For example, the game of hide and seek is one of the most common examples. A toddler, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, when you tell them, look, let's play hide and seek. I don't know if you've tried it. All children that have played that game with do the same thing during the early years, especially this toddler age. When you tell the child, hide and seek, I'm going to hide, come and look for me, or you go and hide. When the child goes to hide at a certain place and you find the child is so excited, and then you take turn, you go and hide at a certain place, he's so excited, and then tell the child, okay, I'm going to hide, look for me. If you change your position, what happens? He starts crying. Yeah. And then if he goes to hide, the child will normally go to hide at that same place, because he is during the period of sensitive order, sensitive period for order. If you don't go to that place, the child will tell you, I am here, come and look for me. All children all over the world, Asian, African, Caucasian, they all do the same thing. If you change your position, the child starts crying, and you're wondering, your adult mind, you're wondering, what is wrong with this child? But older children now understand it because they have passed that sensitive period for order. So during this critical time, what do we do for them? We must be consistent in all our practices. Even babies do the same thing. If you've consistently fed a baby from a particular plate, okay, and you change it, the child starts crying. If you're observant, you will notice it. It's a sensitive period for order. If I wear a particular dress all the time, my sister comes to the house and she wears it, my child will almost want to pull the dress off my sister's body. Or if you have a slippers, for example, or something you wear, and a friend or a neighbor comes in wearing that same thing, they will start shouting, that is my mommy's own. It belongs to only my mommy's feet. That is the sensitive period for order. So you see, sometimes we because we don't know, we start scolding the child. What is something that is happening to him, is his nature. So you see, when we understand all these things, we begin to appreciate the child better. So understanding is very important. So there's sensitive period for order. So how do we help children? Consistency in the way we do things. Order, organize the environment, because the external order helps what? The internalization of order in the child's mind. A lot of tantrums are the product of what? Destabilizing the order that he has taken it in initially. For example, if you go to a particular shop, you always go to that shop. You know where to get what aisle to go to. And then suddenly one day you're in a hurry. You just rush into the hall. You know that the shop, you know that in aisle 6, that's where I'm going to buy that pack of spaghetti. And you rush in there, but you don't find, the whole place has been disorganized. What happens? It upsets your mind. That's exactly what happens to children. And that's why they throw tantrums. That's one reason. Another sensitive period for movement. Children need to move around. You can't just keep them still in one place. Because you see, we had talked about human tendencies. That is part of the human tendencies. Children need to move around. I mean, we can control it, but let's give what? Room for movement. And movement is not just limited to walking around, movement of the hands as well. Movement in their minds, intellect. They want to ask a lot of questions. They want to be active. Another sensory period is sensory period for language. You know, I talked about it briefly that when a child is not exposed to language, the child will not acquire language. So talk is very important. And language is not limited to language, it's communication. Talk to the child. Children thrive on talking. It makes them to feel that sense of connection with us. You can imagine you are in a house or in an organization and nobody talks to you. How would you feel? That's how the child feels. You feel disconnected. So communication is a need for children. They need us to talk with them, especially at this age. I mean, good talk, not scolding all the time. Because when we scold all the time, what we're telling the child is that you are not needed. And that is not good for the mind of the child. It's not good for his emotions. It's not good for his psychology. Children must have a sense of community, a sense of belonging. We teach also social skills, all the social skills, the polite words. We model to them. Another sensitive period is sensory development. That has to do with touch, exploration. That is how best they learn from the environment. As all these are going on, one thing that is happening with the child at this age is the development of independence. Every child wants to be independent. In fact, nature has shown us that, look, once a child starts crawling, that is the beginning of what? Independence. They move around. Man was not made to be dependent, but man was made to be independent. And even God showed this to us in the garden. He would come from time to time to pay a visit. He gave man independence, provided the environment and said, look, you take over. Just gave instructions and gave man the liberty to make choices. Once a child starts crawling, walking, acquire language, these are signs of what? Natural signs for independence. The child cannot express his needs. He cannot say what he wants, what he does not want, what he likes, his preferences. And I think sometimes we should respect this. We should respect it. And we can guide the child, but we shouldn't be controlling, because when we control, we're taking his voice, the child's voice, away from him. We make the child lose his sense of identity. It's very important. I suffered from low self-esteem for a very long time, because everything I ever did was based on what? Instruction. Now, I am not saying we shouldn't instruct our children. We should give them choices so that they can stand their own, because it all has to do with the brain. Once an individual is used to taking instructions, it becomes difficult at a certain age to make decisions. We're there to guide them. Yes, we must guide them, but we must also give them room, because that is the natural way. We will not always be there with them. So we have to groom them to become independent thinkers, problem solvers on their own. So we can actually stimulate these things and watch to see what they do. Just like a coach When you are coaching, you coach, you train the child. But when it's time for the game, you take back seats and watch from the sides. Isn't that what happens? We can apply that to parenting. So a child will naturally show the need for functional independence when he starts speaking, when he starts moving around. He begins to pick things by himself. He begins to explore. He's trying to gain mastery of himself because he's constructing the individual, the man of his time, in alignment with the culture around him. So the children manifest a need, a desire to do things for themselves. But most times we feel they are too young. We look for Angela to help them, carry his bag, feed him, do this for him. You know, young children from 1.5 and above, they start struggling with us. I want to do it by myself. Is that not true? Let me do it by myself. That is their way of telling you, look, show me how to do it. I can help myself. And we struggle with them like, look at this child. I want to help you. You can't even do it. The child is crying. I want to do it. I can do it. They may not do it. They're not saying that they are perfect in our own sense of perfection. But once a child applies himself, he's satisfied, applaud him. To have that sense of achievement. So as humans, a child would have that deep sentiment of freedom, to have the satisfaction, the satisfying feeling of being able to carry out an action for himself. We're not talking perfection according to our own definition, but perfection according to the child's definition. For example, there is no child below 5 that can actually draw a proper human being the way we draw. True or false? All of them all over the world draw stick men. Head, long body, another cross across a horizontal line, vertical line, and then stick legs. True or false? All children draw that way. That is their impression. For that is the most perfect drawing of mommy and daddy. That is perfect. Who gives you the right to say that is not how to draw a man or a woman? That is how the child sees it. So what we define as perfect is not the child's definition of perfect. So when the child wants to do things, that's the right time to teach him. And then when the child is 5, 6, you start fighting with the child. You can't tie your shoelace. But when he was 2 years old, that he wanted to learn, did you allow him to learn? No. And a lot of other things. What the child is telling us is that, look, I'm not trying to gain perfection by your own definition, but I just want to do things for myself. I want to share your life with you. I want to learn how to cook that soup. I want to learn how, they do a lot of imagination because we don't let them do things. When they are playing by themselves, they imagine they imagine some water and they say, this is the okra soup. They imagine it in their brains, in their heads. But they need to apply it. There needs to be that application. Allow the child to engage. So independence is a right. They have ideas. And this is another problem we have with our teenagers. At that time, they are struggling between being children. They are transiting from childhood to adolescence. But we believe that they don't have sense. They have their own ideas that they want to apply. Let's allow them, to express themselves, but guide them. So we've talked about the holistic development of the child. Every area of development has to be looked into. So the early years is the foundation. A lot of things are going on in the minds of the children. So as parents, I suggest that we seek out information, apply this information so that our children will grow up and become healthy teenagers and then transit into becoming healthy adolescents and healthy adults. I'm going back to something I said earlier on. For me, the crux of parenting is training up the child, showing the path in the way that he should go. And in training is very important. The coach must be hands-on. As parents, we are the coaches. We have been endowed with that leadership mandate to lead our children. I see parenting as a leadership mandate. We're coaches in the field. And if you're a coach, you must be in the field. I watch a bit of football. When they are training, the coach is there on ground, running around, giving the instructions, telling them what to do. The coach is also physically involved. So I think that is also expected of us as parents. And then when it's time for the children to play, for the players to play, that's the child now, you take the back seat and said, okay, let me observe this child that I've coached all these years. Let me see how he plays. I would like to pause here. I don't know if we have questions. Hello? Can you hear me?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Can you hear me?
Okay. So, even if people do not, even if people do not have questions, yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Please just bear with us because there's delay. There's quite a substantial amount of delay.
Okay.
That's fine. There's quite a substantial amount of delay between. Between me and you, so please just as long as you see my mouth moving, you know that I'm still talking.
Okay.
So you might see my mouth moving before you hear my voice. One microphone would need to be muted.
Okay, you can mute mine.
Okay, so no, it's my side because I've got two going on. One is really delay, and the other one you can hear me straight away. So this is my question while I'm waiting if there's anybody that's bringing question on board. So I have a, before I even say that, bad manners. Thank you, and thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you for, in fact, I have to be honest. When you said that we're enjoying this class, I said, yes, so we are definitely in the classroom. We brought our teachers in, our head teacher, not just teacher. We brought our head teacher in to teach us. Very informative. Very, very, very informative. Thank you. Thank you for coming to share this wealth of knowledge with us. And like I said, when you consider this is only the tip of the iceberg. Um, so thank you for sharing this with us. I have a few questions. Um, can I use this opportunity to get across to all the parents that are there? Pastor Christine, you've been here right from the very beginning. You're still here, ma'am. Thank you. I truly appreciate you. Thank you very much because I know you're taking time out of a busy schedule. To everybody else that has joined along the way as well, even Grandma Fausa all the way from Nigeria, everybody. Thank you. God bless you. I appreciate you. So, Sister Ibi, my first question to you, ma, is regarding the area of intellect when we were talking about the environment.
Mm.
Um, you gave us physical, psychosocial, emotion, intellectual, and spiritual environment. I think I can I think I have an idea of what intellectual environment is, but from your professional point of view, what would an intellectual environment be for our children? What would it look like, ma?
Well, okay, it wasn't here. I had a previous session before now, and then we were talking about something related to this. And, we as parents within the house, within our homes, we can actually create intellectual, generally people think, oh, it's just related to school. No. For example, we talked about reading. Rather than give the child a tablet, why don't you read? That is intellectual stimulation. When children see us reading and place emphasis on reading, they look at us and as the model, and they know that, okay, reading is very important. Intellectual has to do with conversations that we have with children, stimulating conversations. For example, if I have a young child and all I do is close-ended questions. How are you? Fine. Would you like to eat? No. Those kind of questions. No, let's have open-ended conversations with the children. How are you feeling today? Try to engage, yes. Use descriptive words. Oh, I love your frilly dress. I love your pink shoes. Not, I love your shoes. You name the things you are talking about, you are referring to. Use different words, use synonyms. That way the child is acquiring a bank of knowledge, a bank of words. Sometimes you see a child use a certain word and say, wow, where did the child get the word from? It's from the environment. There's no child that is dull. It's the environment that creates our children, who they become, especially during the early years. That's the time we said that children have what? The sensitive period for language. Everything you say and how you say it, the child takes it in. So we can stimulate our children through our conversations. I mean, rich conversations, not close-ended conversations, open-ended conversations, where you make the child comfortable to ask so many questions, and you use several words to explain a particular thing. And the child will use these same words in context when he needs to use them. He's just storing it. In language acquisition, there is a time for taking in a language, acquiring the language, and there's a time for production. Acquisition takes place first before productive speech. And that is why before a child starts talking, he has acquired the language already. It is not the day he speaks that was the day he acquired that word. No. At age 1.5, 2, children have started using words, right? Those words did not happen to them on that day. No, they've been acquiring, they've been hearing those words. So an intellectual environment is an environment that is engaging, that stimulates the child's thinking. For example, storytelling. When you tell stories to children, make it so exciting. Add props, add descriptive words, make it dramatic. Like try to spark an imagination in the child. Tell them stories about your place. You can formulate stories just to engage them. That is an intellectual environment. We don't need too many resources. Our mouth only is important. We can use just our mouth to create an exciting, stimulating intellectual environment.
Wow. Mm. Mm. Just like you said, because my boss and I had to go and buy an equipment sometimes last year. And the person that was selling the equipment to us was a man that was at home looking after his maybe she's just about 1 year old baby. And in their living room, I saw all sorts of books. In fact, I saw like a mini shelf for her with books, and then toys that were geared towards still learning as well. And I left that environment and I said to my husband, I said, "Did you observe anything in that living room?" He said, "What was it?" I said, "That baby, she's only about 1, but you could see that they've invested in soft toys, books, things that she can continue to learn from even while she's playing. They've introduced book to her already. I don't know how early they started introducing book to her, but clearly they've introduced book to her.
Yeah.
And obviously she's got toys, she's got a play area as well. So obviously she's playing as well. So she's not going to be unfamiliar with the content of books or pages of books and having to learn from books. So, and automatically I was thinking, I said, this is the kind of environment that I will probably consider one of the intellectual environment for a child.
Yeah.
I speak extensively about introducing in United Kingdom where I reside. Literally, when my children are born, I enroll them in the library. They allow us to do that. So even when they're a lot younger, you can take so many books out over a period of time. I think sometimes I can take like 12, 15 books out for children. And we will go through those things, we'll read it. Some of them were soft toys that you just touch. It's not really anything that is, if you're reading, most of the time you're the one reading it to them. Or some of them you press it, you hear the words and things like that. Are those still those kind of environment, intellectual environment that you're talking about, or am I too far gone?
No, no, no. Yes, yes. You know, a child sized books, child appropriate books, and talk. Talk is so important. Talk. You know, using your mouth. Stories, like if you are reading a story to a child, for example, make it exciting. Because, like I said, talking about the coach trainee relationship, we must be intentional. It takes time, but it's good investment. It takes time, but it's very good investment. That's why we're parents. If you're
Yes.
a very busy parent, please, even if it's the weekend, try and make time for your child. Even if it's 30 minutes a day, children look forward to that. They love the connection. 30
Mm.
minutes a day when you are back from work, the child will stay up when they are looking forward, and if we become consistent. 10 minutes read to the child, it's far better than the child doing it alone. So when we have trained the children to read, then they can read without us. But during the early years, they need us to read to them. It helps them.
Mm.
It makes them see the
You know,
importance
one
of
of,
reading. Yes.
of course.
Toys alone are
Yes.
not enough. They need to read. They need to be read to. The child shouldn't be left
One of the
alone to
things
talk. Yeah.
that got me looking for you,
Yes. Hello.
and sorry, because of the delay, just bear with me.
Okay.
That got me looking for you was something that you've mentioned again many times during this evening, and that is about languages, languages, languages. You've spoken about it several times. So so I basically got it written down here. When do you suggest we start teaching our children languages?
Once
How
the child is
early?
born, start speaking to the child. Once the child is born, start speaking to the child.
Okay. I think for me, okay, so I think for me, I'm actually thinking about like different languages that is not your mainstream language in the
Exactly.
house.
Yeah. Yeah. Expose them to the languages. If it's at school, I have this friend who actually, two of them, who actually took their children from the mainland to the island to enroll them in a French school because they wanted their children to learn French. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Expose them to that school. I have this friend who actually, two of them, who actually that their children I have this friend who actually, two of them, to enroll them their children from the mainland to the island to enroll them in a French school because they wanted their children to learn French.
Can you still hear me, ma?
I can hear you, but there's some echo at the background.
Yeah, there's too many echo. What I'm using to hear you is giving too many delays. So by the time I hear you or you're hearing me is way behind. So I
Yes.
was trying to come directly to just speak to you without having to go through all the gadgets. So that's what I'm trying to do. So
Okay.
please just bear with me. Like I said, there's a lot of gap between what you're saying and what I'm saying. So by the time you hear me and or I hear you and we're getting the feedback, there's a lot of time. So I'm sorry, I didn't really catch because of all the echo. I was kind of thinking like maybe Spanish, French. I heard you send a child somewhere. I'm not quite sure. I didn't hear
Yeah,
that properly.
yeah, okay.
Over
I
to
said
you.
as early as possible. There's two parents I know who moved. I live in Lagos, who enrolled their children. They live on the mainland. They had to enroll their young children at a French school on the island, and they were willing to make that sacrifice, you know. Did you get that?
Hello, ma.
Hello, I'm here.
Excellent. I think I finally managed to do something. Um, sorry, the audio was really in the way. Um, quality time with, okay. Um, I really don't know what to say because I didn't really hear your response because of all the echo that was going on. But I'm trying to look and see whether other people have questions that they want to put to you before we go. Um, I think we can let go of the PowerPoint so that they just see you and I on the screen. Everybody, if you have any question regarding everything that we've heard, this is the moment to ask those questions. It sounds like if you have any reason they shouldn't marry, speak now or forever hold your peace.
So I should stop sharing, right?
Please, ma'am, could you stop sharing the
All right.
PowerPoint so all they'll see is just me and you? And if there's any questions in the house, I'm trying to go through all the channels that people are watching and see whether we have any question, but I really don't see any question at the moment, and I don't think I've skipped any question. Um, but I will say that Pastor Christine, obviously, like I said, she's been with us right from the very beginning. Um, I don't think you are a stranger to her. I think she might know of have heard of you. She says very educative and informative. She said, God bless you, ma'am. Uh,
Thank you.
so we heard that we should start speaking any language to our children as early as possible. Okay,
Yes.
thank you, Pastor Christy. Thank you for helping me out with that. I needed that. So everybody is saying very insightful. Thank you very much for your time. Nobody is coming with any question. I get this all the time. I'm the one that tends to bring my own question myself. I don't know. So those are my major questions to you for today, and you've been with us for well over 2 hours now. So, and I know that you're also 1 hour ahead of us. So I think it's a good place to let you go. We're having you again by God's grace on Wednesday.
Yes.
Again, I'm looking forward to what you're going to come and download to us. I don't think we would have finished digesting this one before you come on Wednesday, by the way. But I'm looking forward to having you on Wednesday by the grace of God.
Thank
So,
you.
yes, thank you very much. I mean, there is so much information here. I think these things I'm going to have to go back and listen to. Yes, everybody is saying very informative. Obviously, for some of us, as you know, we no longer have early years.
Young children, yes.
But as the book of Deuteronomy, one of the scriptures that you use in chapter 11, chapter 6, and chapter 4 actually says, it's also the duties of the grandparents to bring up the next generation. So we might not have early age, but our children's children are going to continue to come along, and we can put it to effect many of these things that we are learning from you, and we can pass this information over
Yeah.
to them as well by the grace of God. So again, I'm saying thank you for this knowledge and this
Thanks for
information.
having me.
Oh no, thank you, thank you. Um, and I've learned about Montessori as well, which if anybody wasn't here, you have to go back and listen to that one. So thank you very much for this wealth of knowledge. And please kindly let me know. Well, structured, well structured, and very informative. Thank you for the PowerPoint presentation. God bless. So there's a lot of gratitude that is coming your way, Sister Abby, with
God.
this work
Thanks
that you've
you
done
too.
for us. Thank you. We truly appreciate you. The Lord honor you. So
Amen.
I'm going to release you and let you go so I don't hold you any more than I need to. You and I will catch behind the camera by the grace of God. But we have thoroughly enjoyed this session with you. Thank you. And I noticed you didn't rush. It looks like you are very uh, concerned about us understanding what it is that you are impacting to us. And I truly appreciate that. Thank you very much. The Lord truly honor you in the mighty name of Jesus.
Amen.
So thank you. We're
All
gonna
righty, thank you. And thanks to your boss.
I will tell my boss. My boss is hearing you. My boss is hearing you. I will tell him. Thank you very much, ma.
Excellency. All right.
You're
Thank you,
welcome, ma.
Mr.
Yes,
Funke.
ma. Take care.
Ah,
See you.
take care. Bye. Good
Hallelujah.
night. Yeah, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Yeah.
Everybody that is Sister AB, you can see the internet was uninterrupted. There was nothing glitching. That can only be God, honestly, because if I were to tell somebody that was actually live from Nigeria for the whole duration of, it's over 2 hours, because she and myself have actually been sorting things out in the background before 8 o'clock. And in fact, she logged on at about 7:30, to be honest with you, and her internet has not blinked at one point or the other. Again, I'm going to reach out to everybody. There's no compulsion. I'm going to say that. I already said it um, with Pastor, I said Pastor, yeah, Pastor Godwin and Sister Dr. Ruth. You can see the wealth of information. So when she actually said the classroom, I couldn't actually argue, because I did feel like I was in a lecture room, not because of the way she was presenting it, but because of the wealth of information that was being downloaded to us. And some of you might see I keep looking down. That's because I'm making notes myself. So again, um, I'm not compelling anybody, but if you do feel, I am going to reach out with some sort of blessing to Sister AB, especially when she's going to be coming to us every week. And as you can see, she did bring uh, wealth of information and resources. So I don't see why we cannot be a blessing. But like I keep saying, you can be a part of the blessing. You don't have to be a part of the blessing. But I think it's only fair. The Bible says a worker is worthy of his wages. So if they're coming, they didn't have to. I invited them, they chose to come. And the right thing to do is to be able to appreciate them for what they do. I'm not saying something we need to do on a daily basis. She's only going to be with us once a week. And this information, if it's a book, you know how much it will cost you. If it's a lecture or classroom, you know how much it will cost you. But by the grace of God, I told you, I even said, your internet, she said, don't worry, the Lord will provide. Well, the Lord is not going to send down manna from heaven again. He's going to use somebody like myself and yourself. So only one person has reached out to me concerning Dr. Board and impacting us with this knowledge and information that we can use to improve our relationship with our children, to understand our children better. And as you can see, um, they are all believers as well. So they're not totally ignorant of the kingdom of God, which is where you really know is my forte. But I'm blessed to be able to bring all this other expertise on board. And like I said, Dr. Ruth and Pastor Godwin, they have agreed to come every month. Sister AB, she has agreed to come every week. Like I said, she was even willing to come twice a week. I'm the one that said internet. She said, don't worry, let's start with the one. So every Wednesday, starting from next week, by the grace of God, Sister AB will be with us. If you want to be a blessing to any one of those people, kindly let me know and we'll take it from there by the grace of God. And even if it's the one person that has reached out to me, if it's my household and that one person that can be a blessing to them, that's exactly what we're going to go ahead and do. I will not take, I'm not used to taking freebies. I'm not used to just taking, and not giving. And it's not biblical. I don't see it in the Bible. But like I said, I don't ever compel or force anybody to do it. Some people feel comfortable always taking, but the Bible tells me that it's more blessed to give than to receive. But I notice many of us are more comfortable in receiving than in dipping our hands in our pocket. So that's what I'm going to do with one or two person that reach out to me. I want to say thank you for their time and the internet. If anybody has ever been to Nigeria on holiday, you know how much data costs uninterrupted 2.5. Even Reverend Tudi Amuso, many of you that know when I've had Reverend Tudi Amuso, even his internet blinks. His internet doesn't. The last time we were together was the camera, the battery, the camera that even shut down. So please, that's all I can say concerning that. And as always, I appreciate everybody for being here. Um, Sister AB does have a page. She's not really a social media person. You'll find her on Facebook. She's not very active, but you find her there. She's also in Twitter. She's not very active, but you'll find her there. So if you want to say thank you or just appreciate what it is that she's doing or help her to put the word there, because even if we can't be a blessing to her, but if we can put her out there for other organizations that will utilize her and be a blessing in her life, I think that's still something that is worth doing. So, as always, everybody, thank you. God bless you. Have a wonderful weekend. And I'm leaving you in the most capable hands, as always, of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Take care and see you soon. Thank you.